You want to play rough? Okay. Uno. Say hello to my little friend.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program, late edition. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I want to start off. Let me just start off. I need to start off just saying, what the heck? What is this? I need someone to explain. I saw this and I was just like, I don't know what I'm seeing here. Maybe this is probably going to be something I have to clip. To be fair, if you're watching this after the show, I'm probably going to have to clip this out because there's music playing and what you're about to see. You need the music for the effect to work there. There's probably going to be some copyright issues. I'm probably going to have to cut it out, but I do need to share this because I'm like, I don't know what I'm seeing. This is supposedly a Walls rally. Like I said, it's probably going to be like a whole copyright type of thing because of the song in the background. But I'm watching this and I have so many questions. I mean, just big time questions, massive questions. Yeah, you know what? Massive questions should be like this size. That way, you know, it's like not just like small questions. These are massive questions. What is happening here? What is happening? This is a war. the party of substance. This is what the rally's all about. This is why folks are coming. I guess there's a paid dancer and some piped in music. But I still have a lot more questions. Okay, so here's a few of my questions. I just off the top of my head. And this is sent out by paid Democrat show. I'm assuming paid Democrat show because nobody could be this airheaded and to post what Harry Sisson posts without being paid. If he's not being paid, that's even more embarrassing. Honestly, if he's not being paid, that's in a way worse. It's worse. How can you actually think this is the energy inside of Tim Walz's rally in Tucson, Arizona, as the crowd waits for him to arrive? People are dancing, having fun, standing up for democracy. I don't know how this is standing up for democracy, but you won't see this at Trump rallies. Okay, you won't. I'll tell you this much, Harry, on this one, you're right. You won't see this at Trump rallies. First and foremost, you won't see a rally which is a seating capacity of, 300 people? No, you won't see that. But the other thing is, you probably won't see some paid dancer get up there to start dancing to piped in music and get the crowd energized. Like it's like, I don't know. What are those rallies? Like it's a pep rally at some high school. It's literally like a pep rally at a high school. And it looks like a high school gym. It really could be a pep rally at a high school. But the other thing that's really mind-blowing here, is do they actually have a sign on the door that says whites only? This looks like a Klan meeting. I don't know what's happening here. Look at this thing. What is this? Seriously. I'm going to make myself smaller so it'll make the screen bigger. I don't want anyone to think I'm misdirecting here, okay? Tell me if you see a single non-white person. It's like this is like a where's Waldo type of thing. Find the dark-skinned individual in this crowd. I'm gonna actually go off screen. Because you need to let's give it every possible thing. I'm gonna turn the music off so it's less likely that this thing gets, I have to like trim this out after the fact. Okay. So I'm turning the music off. Turn the music's off. Just look around. Look around. What is this? So they have to take a DNA test to get in there. I know, wait, you got too much minority blood in you. This is crazy. This is crazy. I mean, in Arizona, you would think some Native Americans would be showing up there or something. A couple of illegals should have accidentally wandered in there looking for a place to sleep for the night. This is Arizona. Where the illegal? What did they do with them? The illegal aliens. I mean, they didn't wander in there by accident? By accident? This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. And this is what they're very excited about. They're very excited. Well, look at these rallies. Look at these rallies. I'm looking. My God. Woo! I will tell you, when you see me schedule a show for like after 11 o'clock on a weeknight, what that means, in case you're wondering, is that my sleep schedule is really out of whack. Really out of whack. So I mean, really out of whack. I think I fall asleep to like from yesterday until like noon today. Yeah, it looks like last month's cult meetup. No, come on, man. If you're late again, I'm gonna take you out behind the gym. I apologize. Like I said, my sleep schedule's out of whack. And I was just like, I really want to do a show tonight. And then I came across a couple stories. I was like, oh yeah, I really want to talk about this. I need to talk about this. What you're seeing, what you were seeing is the white liberal in the wild. They can dance. They can dance if they wanna. They can dance if they wanna. They can leave their friends behind. Some friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, then they're no friends. They're no friends to find. That dude was a very underrated artist. He was a very underrated artist. Joe, you're never ever allowed to play Tim Wall's rallies again. That was a crime against dancing. I mean, to be fair, this guy, I mean, the young dude who might actually be Latino. I'm not sure. They might have hired a Latino dancer because most white folk can't dance like that. See, he might be Latino, but yeah, he's got it's not great dancing. It still looks like sort of forced. Yeah, you're right. It's not good dancing. I was thinking maybe he's got some moves with like the whole jumping drops thing. See, yeah, there's a cringy element. Yeah, there you go. There's a jump and drop. But yeah, maybe he's not a paid dancer. I don't think, maybe he's not a paid dancer. But he's got like a badge there. He's got a badge. You see how he's got over here? He's got the little badge thing going on. Yeah. He was told, go out there, do your thing. Go out there, Tommy. Do your thing. Get the crowd stoked up. That's what's happening here. He definitely works for the campaign. What else is the badge for? What do you mean the badge is for? He's part of the media? I think it's one of these stupid, lame bad. No, that's a Biden. That's a Biden. That's a Harris Walls badge right there, if I ever saw one. So, yeah. So humiliating. But you talk about how lacking in self-awareness they are, like Harry says, and thinking like this is just something to be excited about. Very excited for this campaign. Very excited for this ticket that decided that they're gonna send out a staffer and some pipe music so they can dance to start the rally off. Massive energy. Oh, massive. Oh my God, it's fire. Those 200 voters are fire. So, yeah, when you want to talk about a lack of self-awareness, a lack of self-awareness. This is from some CNN roundtable. So obviously, it's going to be like a bunch of like crazy liberals with one moderate liberal who's supposed to be the alt-right guy. The moderate liberal is the alt-right guy. So they're talking about Elon Musk. I guess this is around the time that he said that it would be pointless to pew pew Harris. So this is they're having the discussion and they're trying to figure out where they went wrong in how they lost Elon, because he used to be on the left. And they're having this roundtable discussion with each other. And I think it's a fascinating thing to you get to peek into the mind, because when they're sitting around each other around a table, like talking about stuff and trying to sound insightful, because this is what you need to understand when you're looking at a round table of people who are actually having a what seems like not scripted conversation. And you have a panel. Whenever you see a panel of folks, and this is not just on the left, this is if you watch Laid Back Law, right? Those panel discussions that I participate in, or on Spaces. The participants are each desperate on some level to make sure that the audience knows that they're insightful and that they're adding value. You want to feel as if you're adding value. So you dig into your brain and you're thinking about the topic and you're basically trying to figure out what insight can you add that's novel, right? So the nice thing about this is when you see a bunch of lefties doing this, you actually get to peek inside their brain and they exhibit how they think as opposed to being scripted as to what they should say. Allowing yourself to be scripted into what you say is a tell as to your character and makeup and where your values lie, depending on what you're willing to be scripted into saying. The roundtable conversation that we're about to watch here shows you like how they think. And I was watching this and I was just like, wow, so vapid.
From this kind of rhetoric that makes politicians something less than what they are, which is human beings.
I appreciate your saying that, Scott. I think where the Democrats started to lose Elon was actually personal. We should have celebrated his contributions to electric vehicles, even though he was against unionization and stood up to unions.
Why did we lose Elon? Because he wasn't sufficiently celebrated. That's why. You know why he's on the right now? Because we didn't fluff him enough. We didn't primp and like celebrate his accomplishments. So he said, to hell with you guys. I'm going to switch political. I think they're saying switch political ideologies is what they believe. Because he wasn't fluffed enough.
We should have said, look, Starlink, great product. That needs to be used. We should celebrate the fact that he's had the first commercial success of private people in space. And I think a lot of it was that we didn't celebrate it. And
now when she's asking that question, how is he not properly celebrated? That's her basically saying, yeah, I agree with you that that's the problem here, but why is it that he doesn't feel properly celebrated? Like, that's what I'm assuming is where she's saying. Maybe she's questioning the premise that he's throwing out there. Could be.
He said he felt offended.
He does get a lot of attention.
I'm genuinely curious. I mean, was there something, do you think, that Democrats did? What was the thing?
What did we do, Elon? Let us make it right. For the love of God, you're killing us. What did we do? Elon? This is like the loser who's not invited to a party, who's like, maybe I need to like I need to start wearing like, different clothing. Maybe I need to walk a different. This is what they sound like as they're whining around the table here. How did we lose Elon? If you want to know, by the way, if indeed the problem was a lack of proper, homage deflection to Elon, and that was really why they lost him. There is no greater homage you can give an individual than to have a round table of people sitting here trying to strategize how do we get back into his good graces, because that's very flattering. It's a very, very flattering thing. Now, I'm sure that's not their objective. I think they're actually trying to brainstorm here. Brainstorm. We're gonna have a whole brainstorm with the sharpest minds, figuring out how did we lose Elon here and how to remedy the situation.
Yes.
What was the thing?
Yeah.
That they
I got
did
it. I
to
got a call
alienate
from him
Elon
about it
Musk?
when he
Okay.
wasn't invited to that EV summit. He should have been invited. I called the White House. I never call the White House.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't you invite him? He's very angry. And in fact,
He's very angry. I'm sure you know. Why didn't you call him? He's very angry that he was not invited because he doesn't get enough recognition and he needs to be invited by the government to attend these things. Otherwise, he's going to be really ticked off.
I had an interview with Pete Buttigieg at the time, who also was a little bit glib about it. And I was like, he's critically important in this sector. I think the union thing was the big deal of why they didn't invite him, and they should have. He deserved that credit for
And then
what he's
people
been
were
doing.
tweeting.
Credit. This is what they're all focusing on. He needs more. We should have given him more credit. We didn't appreciate him. We didn't give him enough credit.
Out about his private flights and him taking a
Well,
private plane.
I'm sorry,
I don't
free
think
speech,
Democrats
like,
get blamed
yeah,
for that.
that's
No,
not
no,
I mean,
I'm just saying that.
The Democrats get a pass when they completely destroy the ozone layer. Al Gore was able to ride around in his Hummer while complaining about carbon dioxide, like the worst, the worst gas, the worst emission vehicle in, I don't know, human history, while he's like basically complaining about the United States destroying the ozone. But everyone knew he would get a pass, and that's what she's pointing out. Yeah, him flying on private jets, Democrats get a pass on. They have that much self-awareness.
Look, and I think he should stay off Twitter. I certainly think he shouldn't be making jokes about the vice president. But I think with the Democrats, remember, he was a supporter of Obama. Bill.
By the way, I just need to pause for a second. I'm going to come back to this. I love the fact that like some people, when they come into my show, when they start watching a show, and they come in a couple minutes into the show, and shame on you for that. But I understand you all have lives. You can't drop everything the moment. You don't know the second I'm going to start, because whatever time I put in there, it's probably not going to be that second. So, but I love the fact that like someone comes in and they're like, "Hello, everyone," and then people are like, wishing hello. Like it's like, "Oh, you're back, Shiloh. Hi." I like this. I really, really love this. People just sort of like the familiarity that you all have with each other is an awesome thing. It's over on Rumble also. It's not simply it. You each have your own little communities, and obviously the diggers, they're practically having weekend summits with each other. It's almost kind of obnoxious, but I'm just kidding. It's actually kind of cool. I just want to say I love seeing that. I really do. It's not really great content for me to like talk about or like pull up on stream as in a general type of way. But the fact that you guys actually feel that way about it, large, obviously not everyone's going to get along with each other. That's obvious. But that it's an awesome blessing. It really is. And I love, I never mentioned it, I don't think ever before, but I happen to really love it. Anyway, let's get back here to these knuckleheads who have no self-awareness at all.
Saying that, look, and I think he should stay off Twitter. I certainly think he shouldn't be making jokes about the vice president. But I think with the Democrats, remember, he was a supporter of Obama. Bill Clinton, Obama had this, and we are the party that is John F. Kennedy, that is about innovation, that is about entrepreneurship.
They didn't initially give him the tax credit.
We should be celebrating that part of it.
There's a weird.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what they think. This is how they operate. Okay. And this is something I want to point out to you. Why I wanted to share this little roundtable conversation with you. They have this. If you ask like, what is the best measure of a man? And I've said this in my very early days. I don't know if I've said it in the last couple of years. If you want to know what is the best measure of a person? Some people will say, like, what makes a person have value? Okay. Some people will say their popularity. Some people will say their good deeds. Some people will say their money. Some people will think their fame or their power or something like that, or their academic achievements or their accomplishments, as far as, what they can put on their tombstone, founder of Starlink or whatever it is. Different people will say different things. Some people might say how beautiful they are, maybe inside it and or outside, whatever it is. People measure others and their value. And that's why you ask me the best way to value people and who they are as people. I'm not talking about little kids. I'm talking about they grow into adults, obviously, and they might have foundational perspectives when they're small kids. But certainly when you're looking at an adult and you want to measure the value of that person, I'm a very big believer that the value of a man, and I'm using that word generically, so don't get offended, Karen Phillips. The value of a man is how they measure men. What you place a value on, what you place significance on, is not a reflection on the person who you're valuing. It's a reflection on yourself. Because the reason that you would value someone who has a great deal of money is because that to you is what the ultimate goal is. So you're displaying your own, the significance of money and financial achievement as being the end all and be all. If you're valuing someone else's good deeds, that shows what you idolize. If you value their fame, if you value their accomplishments in an industry, whether that industry is in STEM or that industry is Hollywood or on a sport, on a baseball field, you're showing who you are as a person by what you value. The way you show that is where you spend your money and where you spend your attention and your time. And also through discussion, like this airheaded discussion that we just watched here. Because what did this individual say? Why is it that Elon left? This is where he shows just how completely vapid he is. I have no idea what this guy's name is. I don't know who he is. I'll tell you right now. He's a very small person. I come to that conclusion because of all the reasons you can come to as to why Elon ditched the left. What he's basically saying is Elon didn't feel sufficiently validated. Like, this is what unless you have evidence that, here's a clip of him saying, hey, they snub me. Here's this. Then it could be like, okay, I reasoned out that, that's what he values. But unless you have that sort of evidence, if you don't have that evidence, then you're purely speculating. Well, what are you speculating? You're speculating. You're putting yourself in his shoes. What would make me feel upset with a group of people? And what is that? That is, I didn't get enough fluffery. I didn't get enough attention. I didn't get enough validation and love and recognition. And that is showing this is what he is dependent on. His happiness, to me, this is a tell that his happiness is dependent on validation of his peers and the greater community at large, which is utter cuckoldry. It's utter cuckoldry to ever, and to some degree, we all, or many of us, are somewhat dependent on recognition. But to have the need to have even greater, it's not like Elon is living in freaking anonymity, for crying out loud. It's not like no one knows who he is. It's not like the guy, it's like that he needed, like before he bought X, no one knew who Elon was, for crying out loud. Come on. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone talked about him all the time. And this guy thinks, no, he needed more. This is reflective of what this individual values and what all of them are thinking, like, oh yeah, you know what? They did snub him too much. That validation is so essential. Like, I think they have no comprehension of what it actually is like. And frankly, I don't know that I have any sort of comprehension, but I'll tell you this much. I don't buy that this has any validity at all, because I'll tell you something. You know what? You know why Elon has left the left? You know why he's left the left? He's told you over and over and over and over and over again, I didn't leave the left. You left me and went crazy further left. I just stayed where I was, and all of a sudden I find myself over here way on the right because I just stood still. He said that over and over and over and over and over again. If you listen to what he's saying and actually digest what Elon's saying, he's espousing classic liberal views. Classic liberal views. All the perspectives now that MAGA is embracing is actually classic liberalism. You talk about the power to the people. You talk about worrying about the individual over the corporation. And they're so deluded that they have to concoct, why would this be? Well, I know what drives me. What drives me is that I am a constantly dependent on continual validation. And this is one of the massive flaws of society today that has been plagued upon us because of addictions that have developed to social media, where there is a greater need now for social validation than ever before in human history, where people feel like I need to chase more likes, I need to chase more, and I have to fake who I am. If I've got a catfish, if I've got to take pictures of this beautiful scenery of a place that I'm at, so people can understand why they should wish that they were me. A picture of me with some beautiful, famous person. All these desperate moments to show significance are actually revealing your own insecurity and feelings of insignificance. Now, to some degree, we all have those that an insecurity. I'm not hating on the existence of insecurities. That's part of the human condition. But when you let your insecurities the only way you can try to find to deal with your insecurities is through validation of others. You are destined to be miserable forever. You need to find happiness within yourselves. And that's why I look at someone like this and I feel kind of sad for them. I feel kind of sad for them because I don't know how some people who look and think like this, I don't know, you're never happy. You're never going to be happy because even if you had the entire world looking at you and applauding for 20 minutes, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, certainly a week later, you're going to feel empty again. Again. It's a never-ending, it's a fix that's a never-ending need for more and more and more validation. And that's what they're displaying here, because they're showing what they value. They're showing what they value. Sad. It's sad. That's the mindset. That's the mindset. And look, I don't think that's unique to the left. I don't want anyone to misunderstand what I'm saying. I don't think that's unique to the left. But these are like, the great thinkers of the left. These are like, this is the CNN roundtable here. All right, what did I miss here? What did I miss? Oh, sorry. He's not a former Brown, he's fat. Okay. They are ballless Democrats cackling Kamala, Timmy the tampon, no. Walls vote no. You're very, very, very inhibited in the way you express yourself sometimes, old guy. You need to just unleash once in a while. Stop being so dialed back. Nathan, my brother, thank you for gifting membership. I'm gonna hit you up on one of these just because I appreciate the kindness and support that you're displaying. The kindness and support. The measure of man is what he does with power. Okay. That's fine. I mean, Plato wasn't an idiot. But I think the measure of man is how they measure men, because they're showing what they give significance to. By the yardstick you use to measure others is what displays what you value, and that's showing who you are as a person. Elon went right because the left did the thing where they take a child his and try to make them another gender. Yeah, that might have been it too. That it might not just be that they moved further left. It's that he's like, what the hell? What the hell? This is what this crazy ideology is doing. They don't consider that. No, we can. He would have been totally fine with us changing his kid's gender if only we would have invited him to a meeting of NASA. Then he would have been totally fine with it. I mean, how stupid can you be? How stupid can you be? Joe, you don't recognize California Congressman Ro Khanna? Oh, that's who that is. Oh, that's right. I missed it. Yeah. And he's actually not one of the stupider ones. I've actually seen him say some things that seem relatively intelligent. But I'm confused. Did you block a memory? We've talked about him before here. I've actually shown clips of him in congressional meetings. I can't. The faces start blurring together. You know that. All those politicians look alike. I was walking down a dark and dangerous path there for a moment. Walking down a dark and dangerous path. You brought me there, but that's a good call out on me. I should have known Ro Khanna. That's a fair call out. That's a fair call out. And so the VP becomes a meteorologist tonight. Did she? I was actually planning on covering that at some point, but I mean, I saw stuff from yesterday. What did she share? What did she do tonight? So who's going to meet me in DC to watch Joe argue in front of SCOTUS? I feel like we might need a group chat when it gets closer. I'm not missing that. All right, let's just get our writ approved first. I like my papers. I'm very proud of them. They're very strong. Let's get approved. I'll tell you this much. My papers did arrive today in Supreme Court land, and yeah, I mean, frankly, the only thing I was doing to take care of that today is I was a little bothered by seeing that the rejection that my lawyer got said rejection of application of good logic and Neerman. And I actually texted him. I was like, I want you to call up Supreme Court and clarify that you've never been my counsel personally, and that this was not a submission on my behalf, because I'm terrified that my arguments are never going to be heard, because they're going to say, well, we already heard your application that was filed by Ron Baruti. So he took care of that, I think. And hopefully that's not going to be an issue. Are things going off the hook, off the rails, or off the chain? I guess that depends on where you're from. You DM me the Weather Channel? Thank you. I'll check it out. I'll pull it up. If they all look the same, does it look like they are carved out of butter? Look, there are people a lot worse shape than Ro Khanna. So I'm not gonna hate on him being a couple pounds overweight. He's a senator. I'm not gonna hate on that. Let me pull up this thing that Kathy is sharing with me here. If my ex wants to run. What are you sharing with me? Okay.
About the language that we're using.
Oh my God. This is Kamala Harris on the phone with the Weather Channel.
The other point, Mike, that I would make, especially it came through on the briefing from the federal experts, it's really important that we think about the language that we're using to talk about what we are predicting. Because, for example, it has moved from time to time from a Category 5 to a Category 4. It's important that we not emphasize that downgrading has happened, because, in fact, the difference between Category 5 and Category 4 in terms of the danger and the damage is pretty much the same. The other point, Mike.
What's funny is the comment on this. The comment on this is why in the actual hell is your dumbass calling the Weather Channel and telling meteorologists how to do their jobs? You don't even freaking know how to do your damn job. That was pretty funny, Ava. It was pretty. She's calling the Weather Channel. She's calling the Weather Channel, correcting them. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. I was gonna save this for later. Because I shared that clip now of her, of Kamala and Hurricane Milton, and I will pause and just say, especially if you're down in the Florida region there, Tampa region, yeah, get the hell out. I don't know how you still have electricity there. They should have cut all your damn power, so you should have forced you all out. No, I'm just kidding. I shouldn't joke about that because it is a serious circumstance. So I'll correct myself, apologize, and say that please make sure that you follow all instructions from your local authorities, because I say stuff like that sometimes where I say, you know, YouTube wants me to tell you. Over here I'm saying it's good common sense. Just follow instructions from your local authorities and do everything you can to ensure, first and foremost, the safety of both you and your entire family. So stay safe, you all. Really, stay safe. All right, but I guess I'm gonna switch the order here. I was gonna start by talking about Trump's strategy for dominance, but since I geared over to weather, and that actually plays into the questions I have about Biden turning on the Democrats. You need to sort of see the sequence of events here, to really appreciate. You have this fight, this feud going on between DeSantis and Kamala. A feud. Check this out. I shared this on Locals yesterday, but this is something you all need to see. So this was Kamala yesterday.
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in
And that's true.
desperate need of support right now. And
that's true too.
playing political games with this moment in these crisis situations. These are the height of emergency situations.
She's right. No one should be playing politics with this at this time. I agree with that. The words that she's saying, I agree with this sentiment completely.
It's utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish.
It is selfish. It's completely selfish. You have to be a sick, twisted person to take advantage of a genuine emergency for your own political gain.
A political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
And I've been in touch.
Okay, so that was what Kamala said, pointing out how insane it is to try and take advantage of a crisis like this, where people are suffering, people are dying, people are losing their homes and their lives and being completely uprooted in ways that are horrific. And frankly, I don't know if I've ever experienced a Category 5 hurricane. We've had a couple of decades ago, we had some really brutal hurricanes up here in the Northeast. Really brutal hurricanes. On back-to-back years, there was Irene and Sandy, and I know the devastation they can wreak. It's terrifying. So any politician who's trying to take advantage of that to say, "Oh, look how important and what a great leader I am," is terrible. She's critiquing DeSantis there. This is DeSantis's response.
Touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities. And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And
why should she? She's the freaking vice president. Why the hell is she sticking her nose in here? Why are you here? Why you have anything here at all? That's not purely political. You have no role in FEMA. You have no executive authority. You have nothing here. You have no basis to be saying anything.
So what I think is selfish
Has she ever
is her
called
trying to
before?
blunder into this. No, and here's
Has
the
she ever
thing.
called before?
She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this. I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows
She's trying to look like a leader. That's what she's trying to do, but she doesn't have any authority to be a leader. But she figures it's good for my campaign to look like I'm a leader. So I'm chastising this Republican governor who ran for president, ran in the primary for the president, and showing how the right is all about politics, and I'm here trying to be a leader. And he's like, "F you! Who do you think you are?" This is such a major blow up in Kamala's face, that her own words hang her. Her own words just hang her over and over and over again. And he's spot on right. He has dealt with multiple issues. He has dealt with multiple storms while he's been in office here. And he's contacting the people he's supposed to be contacting. And on that list of people, which I'm sure is a pretty lengthy list, nowhere on that list is Kamala Harris. Nowhere. Nor should she be. The vice president is not someone you call when there's an emergency. Vice president is the president of the Senate, and next in line. That's the only two functions the vice president has. So unless you need Congress to legislate and say no more hurricanes and get her to get a bill passed in order to stop this hurricane from coming, get the hell out of the way and let him do what he needs to do to deal with the agencies which are designed and set up to deal with this sort of thing. Work through the channels that are set up to work with this type of, with trying to get emergency aid to people who actually need emergency aid.
No, she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. I've got people whose lives are on the line. I've got people whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. I'm not worried about playing her political games. And so she is being selfish by trying to blunder into this when we're working just fine.
Powerful, just blowing her up. And why am I bringing up in the context of the topics of tonight's show? Because then you had this.
The governor of Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday, and I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my.
You can see Kamala like throwing a bottle of wine against the wall when she sees this.
Personal phone number to call. So I don't know. There was a rough start in some places, but every governor from Florida to North Carolina has been fully cooperative and supportive and acknowledged what this team is doing. And they're doing an incredible job. But we got a lot more to do.
Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. So it seems like Biden is really throwing Kamala under the bus. And when I was talking about this on Locals last night, which if you missed it, it's at goodlogic.locals.com. And while you're here, if you can please sub up, because apparently YouTube thought they should take 60 subs away from me last night. I don't know, over the last 24 hours. I'm like, I don't know what happened. So while you're here, if you can hit like and subscribe. I even have a button here somewhere which is like, tries to tell you to do that, because otherwise it doesn't happen. Yeah, so if you can like and subscribe, I appreciate that. So when I covered this on Locals yesterday, I was saying, okay, it's possible that the reason that Biden is saying that is because he's trying to defend his own work here. that, hey, I am in touch with people. I'm obviously the chief of the executive branch, and I'm in touch with the people during this time of crisis, and we're handling this properly. And when she comes along and basically says that, this whole thing is being bungled, it basically makes Biden himself look, like there's something wrong with his administration, especially when the nature of the bungling is, really talking about things that are not supposed to be happening. So it is in Biden's personal political interest, to the extent that he's worried about his own personal legacy, for him to say, yeah, look, everyone's handling this properly, and it's common practice. And hopefully, look, at the end of the day, talk is cheap. What we really want is for it to actually be handled properly. But now you have people on both sides, including Kamala's boss, saying, yeah, everything's being done correctly. Everything is. So that just leaves Kamala out to dry as to, like, why this is not the right defending itself from the left. This is both sides, including your own boss, saying the right is doing what they're supposed to be doing, which just makes her look like a complete clown. But I need to attribute to that particular clip any sort of intention from Biden to undercut Kamala. Yes, his comments would have that impact necessarily. Yes, it would. But the next clip the next thing I want to share with you is far more. That was it. It ends up working out as an attack from Biden on Democrats and their candidacy hopes by basically cutting down Kamala as being completely full of crap, not at all a leader, trying to turn a crisis into some sort of political advantage for herself, and desperately trying to look at it like a leader, and while doing the exact opposite of what a leader should be doing, because instead of actually helping things, she's making things worse. So if whatever leadership skills she's displaying is that she would be a disastrous leader. Surprise, surprise. But the next story that I want to get to here is Biden more overtly attacking the Democrats in a way that I don't know we've ever seen him do, ever. And this guy's been in politics, I don't know, since he's been in politics since Alexander Hamilton. So I'll get to that in a moment. Let me get some of these chats first. Plato and you. From Noah Weinberg Zatzal said, power is second-class pleasure, and people fall for the counterfeit, i.e. control and destruction. And Plato's take is similar to mine. I mean, he's saying like what people do with power. But I think that what people do with power displays their it displays their character. It's true, it does. But I don't think it fully measures everything. I think it's only one element to measuring them. It's an interesting question. Is it more? But I agree that power, that the need for control is a reflection of insecurity. And in a certain way, it's a rebellion. It is a rebellion against God. Someone who feels a need to be in control of things. And I'm saying this is someone who I see that in my own life sometimes too much. Like that's an actual struggle I personally deal with. Like feeling comfortable ceding control. Ceding spelled CEDING. Like giving away control, releasing control. Because by nature, I'm somewhat controlling. But I really try to fight against it because I recognize that sort of need to step back sometimes. Although I'll tell you this, on Gag Trump, I've become like, no, I'm taking this football. I'm taking this football to the house. I'm taking it to the house, or I'm going to die on the goal line. But I'm taking this one to the house. I'm not ceding control of anything. I grew up in Florida, lived there for 40 years, went there through many a hurricane, and all that time, never saw VP involved in FEMA, nor should you. Why would you? Why would you? Think Biden as vice president ever dealt with it? No one did. Part 2, true power is to enable and empower others. A man has endless potential, so the measure of man is how he uses his power to enable others. I think that's the measure of the goodness of a man. That's what Plato's thing. That's the measure of a goodness of a person. Is that when they have control, they don't press that advantage. But I don't know if that's really the measure of what the person is all about. I think it's a more limited take. I think that yardstick is a more limited take. I'll be curious your thoughts if you're watching now or commenting afterwards. Like, I'd be curious on your take on that. Like, because I'm talking about the overall element to what makes the person, and defining what that person is, as opposed to defining how good or bad that person is. So Plato's definition is more of a definition as to how moral or immoral a person is. Mine is more a measure. A method of figuring out what a person is about. So I think that my perspective is more comprehensive. In other words, someone who's valuing people who dress stylishly are basically showing that what they are all about. That's what they care. You can call it good, you can call it bad, but they're certainly telling you what they're. I'm not labeling it moral or immoral. I'm simply saying it's a tell on who they are as a person. She's a perfect weather person getting you. That's pretty funny. John, is Kamala relenting, saying 2 + 2 = category 4 or 5? And they're basically saying, nice, 4 = 5. I like it. Talk about the language, salad tossing, word salad, spewing, cackling, knucklehead Kamala VP. Go get him, old guy. She's walking on your lawn, buddy. Based on her body language, if she becomes president, we're gonna have to fight a war just because of how weak she looks. Yeah. Stormy Kamala put the people first by instructing the meteorologists. Of course. That's what she's doing. She's used to things blowing. Oh, I see what you did there. Nice. Well done. At least DeSantis gets some votes in in presidential primaries. That's true. Biden's throwing under the bus, backing up and running her over again and again. The next one is less of an attack directly on Kamala and more about the Democrat parties in general. And you'll see. If you haven't seen it already, I'm getting there in just a moment. Democrats really effed up by ousting Biden and putting that toss salad down, doing word salad, spewing, bungling, cackling, Kamala. One old guy gives me. He has me reading a mouthful. You think Biden was forced to run in 2020 and dance? I don't think so. I don't think he was forced to run in 2020. I think he was resentful that he didn't get to run in 2016. I think he's really mad. He's like, that guy would never have been president. They would have let me run instead of hated Hillary. Biden's done, so why not undermine and the people who betrayed him? It could be. So this is I've talked about this a little bit. It's a fair question. Why would he not want to be resentful and out of resentment be taking down the Democrats? So I think we saw the parade of lunacy from Nancy Pelosi and everyone exonerating and extolling Biden as if he was some legendary president, the Mount Rushmore administration, and talking about what an amazing president he was. And I think that when they forced him out, they likely gave him a carrot and a stick. And they said to him, look, here's the stick part, okay? If you don't get out, we're going to force you out. You're going to leave in ignominy and be remembered forever as the president who was forced out of the White House by his own party. And you'll be remembered forever as President Dementia. That's what's going to happen to you, because when the 25th Amendment you and chase you out, and that's all anyone's going to remember. But if you step out of the race, we will have the parade of legacy media coming out here talking about what a true champion of America you are. that you stepped down in this at this time, and how your entire administration has been historically great. So what at his age, legacy and reputation is probably the most significant thing in his life right now. It's fair, it's a safe assumption that if it's not the most significant thing, it's certainly up there in top 3 at the very least. So they basically give him a choice. The carrot, the stick is, if you don't do it, you're gonna leave, and your legacy will be a life of shame and humiliation. But if you do leave, you will be remembered as one of the greats of America for all time. Or we'll do everything we can to prop you up as one of the greats of America for all time. But I think that's the carrot part, and that carrot part carries with it. You want us to really do that. Make sure that you don't just step away, but that you're really promoting the Democratic nominee. And you play ball with us, and we'll play ball with you. And that would be a reason for him to get up at the DNC and start talking about what a great leader Kamala would be and how phenomenal she is. What they didn't realize is that now that put her in a position where they really need to invest in this lie. They need to invest in the lie that they're having a very difficult time selling because people can't pay their bills, but that things are great because now he's been a great president and she's latching onto it. I was there every step of the way. And it's actually a sinking ship because the forces trying to sell to America this notion that life in America is phenomenal suck at their job. They've weakened and battered at those ships that have been carrying messages of garbage and lies and selling it to America and pounding it forth, but they've been battered away where they're not trusted anymore because people see how much they lie. So now when you're trying to sell this stuff, it's not really working. So she's tied herself to the Biden administration because now the whole left is all propping up how the Biden administration is, wow, historic, Mount Rushmore, everything's great, everything's wonderful. She ties herself into that and assuming that this sales pitch that the legacy media and the leftist politicians are going to sell is actually going to be swallowed whole by America. But so she's basically ride or die with that perspective. And it's a perspective that's really difficult to sell in a country where the economy is through the roof. Nobody is happy. Everyone is basically depressed because of countless issues with mental health here, and with issues with food, issues with the economy, issues with illegal immigration, issues with foreign affairs and wars abroad, issues with Marines dying, all these different issues, and Americans are not happy. So the media and the politicians had this very difficult job of trying to carry this football home or take it on a ship across the ocean here and sell it to America, that life here in America is wonderful and amazing and phenomenal and better than ever. And yet turn the page, which is a weirdly conflicting type of message. I know that they're intuitively hoping people say that the page is Donald Trump. But now you have a candidate who's sitting here saying, turn the page, turn the page, turn the page. And you can't help but think in your brain, what page are we freaking on here? We're on the Biden page. Well, you might want to say to yourself that the Biden page, we're turning the page now to having Kamala here, and she's something brand new and novel and new and shiny and whatever. We don't really know who she is, don't have enough time to figure out who she is, so let's just vote for her because she's new and shiny. But then she comes out on The View and she says, oh, everything that happened the last 4 years, that was me. Because she's married to this ship of like, oh, everything here in America is great. So they're in this weird sort of place, and she's in this weird type of campaign where it's like, I don't know if I want to latch onto this ship, if I want to jump off into a lifeboat and say I'm not really part of this administration. And then she goes on Colbert last night and she's sort of trying to dance around saying, yeah, everything here is great, and I don't even know if I should say that, some things I'd be different. How would it be different? Well, I'm a black woman or whatever. I'm a minority woman. And she never calls herself a black woman. She's never once said she's a black woman. Never once, even through that whole fiasco. She still hasn't said to this day because she knows she's not, and she knows she'll be fact checked on it. So they just sort of take it as like, let everyone else say it. Let everyone else say it around her. But but she's basically like, no, do I look like Joe Biden? I'm obviously not Joe Biden. So let's turn the page. Well, are we turning the page from Joe Biden? We turn the page from Donald Trump, because it doesn't feel like we're on Donald Trump's page, at least under, our government. So there's this weird thing where no one knows what anyone is saying anymore. It's like, are we turning the page on Biden? We turn the page on Trump? Who is? And so when she ends up saying turn the page, it actually almost sounds like an ad for Donald Trump. It's like, turn the page on this crappy, stinking, sinking ship of America under its current leadership. And so it reads like it's an advert for Donald Trump. It's a complete, I mean, this campaign is floundering in confusion. They talk about joy all the time. Joy all the time. Joy, joy, joy. It's the summer of brat, and it's joy, and everything's happy. And what's the joy? Vote for us because you hate him. You hate him. What's your policy? My policy is better than his. Whatever his is, mine is better. I copied and lifted the best parts of my policy. The other stuff people are telling me not so great. Don't really talk about that. But I'm better than him. That's our joy, is that I'm better than him. Or turn the page, like Weirdo Wall's wife was saying. Turn the page. Like, this is weird. This entire thing is it's a clusterfuck. It's a mess. It's a complete and total mess, this campaign. I've never this is such a weirdly run campaign. I understand that this is an unusual circumstance because this is a new, it's a short candidacy with no primaries and no buildup and stuff like that. But I actually think that the weirdness ties in to the transition element of it. Like, if Biden actually had a stroke and she jumped in there, right? If something like that had actually happened to him, then it's a different sort of scenario. It's a completely different scenario. But this quasi-dual leadership, and who's doing what, and who's in charge of what, and who's running this emergency problem with, the situation with Hurricane Milton, it's just a mess. It's just an utter mess. But I do think that they gave him that carrot, and they said, stay on board, stay on message, promote Kamala, and we will build you an historic legacy. And he went along. He's like, all right, I'll get up and speak at the DNC and tell everyone how wonderful she'll be as a leader and how much she's done as part of this administration. So now she's moored to that ship. She's stuck on it. She can't get off that ship now. Power is a means, is not an object to possess. That's definitely true. I want to get to how he's turning. So I'll come back to the super chats in just a moment. I want to get to how he's turning here, because this is a crazy left turn from Joe Biden. It's not really against Kamala. It's against someone I think no one thought he would ever turn on. And that is specifically Barack Obama. Biden whined. Obama effed up in 2014, blamed him for Putin's invasion of Ukraine, book claims. What's going on? What's going on here? Blames him for the invasion of what's going on. What's going on here? That's an echo. I got 1,053 of you watching right now on YouTube, and there's only 450 likes. That has to get better. Okay, that has to get better. I need the likes up. So if I can't get the likes up, and I learned this from a guy who's actually a hero of mine. He's a hero of mine. One of the great podcasters of today, who's dealing with a very difficult situation, and his class, dignity, and grace, and how he's dealing with it is a remarkable thing. I just want to take a moment as a shout out and urge each and every one of you who's watching right now, if you're not yet subbed up to this guy, to please support the lead attorney. This guy, far more important than being, it seems like, a really good attorney, is certainly a phenomenal content creator. Just gobs of talent, crazy levels of talent. But far beyond any of that is the lead attorney. I've never met him. I don't know him well at all. I don't have his phone number. I've never spoken to him directly beyond DMs. I think I might have appeared on a panel with him once or twice. But I've not had much interaction with him. And I'm going to tell you that everything I see about this guy, everything I smell about this guy, is that he is the real deal. He comes across to me as a remarkable human being. And if you're unfamiliar with his story, the lead attorney was diagnosed with a very difficult form of cancer. His prognosis is that he should live for at least 5 more years. But, at this point, it's incurable. And when he shared the story over, which I was watching the other day, I want to thank Nathan for calling it to my attention, is an amazingly healthy perspective about life and being grateful and being upbeat, where he's telling over the story of his cancer, and half the time he has you dying of laughter. And he's laughing along with it and not seeming remotely resentful or bitter or sad or anything of that nature, while self-identifying as a human time bomb, and able to carry himself with such grace, such dignity, and style. I'm in awe. I'm really in awe of that guy. Just such an amazing human being, an amazing character, an amazing ability to make people happy while dealing with his own struggles. And I think a large part of it is the reason for his success is because he has such a healthy attitude about life in general. I feel as if we all have, and I definitely include myself in this, we all have a great deal to learn from the lead attorney. Now, as it happens, I actually have added ways that I'm able to learn from the lead attorney, because I actually study some of the stuff he does on his podcast. I'm like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. I'm going to employ that. For example, this. The bell that I sound off when I get a larger super chat, which I actually have a couple different ones, but that was inspired because I saw he had that on his show, and I was like, oh, I really like that. It's a nice little way of acknowledging people who are investing. And I was like, I like that. That's a good thing. That's a really good idea. I'm gonna steal that and get my own sound effects. He has an alarm bell going off, but get my own sound effects. But something else that he does, the reason I'm bringing this up now, what made me think of it now, is that apparently, and Nathan shared this with me, apparently he has this thing where he's like, if I can't get half likes to my number of views, he shuts off his chat. He shuts off his chat to members only. And he's like, for just 10 minutes, 15 minutes, he's like, all right, look, when you guys get the likes up, I'll bring it back. I'll let everyone chat, but only members are gonna be able to chat until we get the likes back up. And I think it's a wise thing to do, because I'm always fighting the algorithm. The guy certainly has a far better understanding of podcasting and how to beat the algorithm than I have. That's no question. So anyway, so I'm going to start employing that. I noticed that the likes have jumped up over a while I've been telling this story, but I do want to encourage each and every one of you to please go over and support the lead attorney. And I don't know if he's ever going to see me talking about this or not. There's a chance he sometimes comes into my chat, so there's a fairly decent chance that he'll see this. But whether he does or not is not the point. I do want you all to know that he is in my prayers, and I pray not simply for him to have his 5 years, but that he should be able to, even though they say that his cancer is incurable, that doctors are often wrong in these types of arenas, and that he is in my prayers, not because he's a celebrity, not because I even learned from him, but most importantly is he's a human, and he's a incredibly high quality human. His character, his demeanor, the way he can help and inspire people, and most people in his position would come across as being very arrogant. He never does. Just an amazing individual. So you should all happily to turn in our prayers for him to have a complete and total recovery, and he should continue to face this challenge while he is facing it. He should continue to face it with the same continued, just indescribable grace, character, and inspirational strength. So I just wanted to just drop that out there. Let me turn back here to this Biden thing that I started talking about and got sidetracked. I apologize for that. So Biden, apparently, I was talking about assessing. We know that Biden undercut Kamala on the weather thing. And now there's a book which is claiming that Biden whined that Obama effed up in 2014 and blamed him for Putin's invasion of Ukraine when he went to the Crimea. President Biden privately pointed the finger at former President Barack Obama for failures that led to Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, the largest conflict in Europe since World War II, a new book claims. When I was reading this story, I didn't pull up a clip of it, but I want to see if I can find it real quick. I remembered something from the 2012 election. Let's see if I can get. When Obama was caught on a hot mic, a lot of people knew about this at the time. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. All right, so I'll come to that. I'll come back to that in a moment. So I have it here. So he privately pointed the finger at President Barack Obama for failures to lead to Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, the largest conflict in Europe since World War II, a new book claims. They effed up in 2014. Biden, Obama's former president and one-time point person in Ukraine, vented to a friend, according to Bob Woodward's upcoming book, War. That's why we're here, the 81-year-old added. We effed up. Barack never took Russian President Vladimir Putin seriously. We did nothing. We gave Putin a license to continue. The president went on, well, I'm revoking his effing license. 2014, the Kremlin annexed the Crimean Peninsula at the ouster of Moscow-friendly Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych during the Revolution of Dignity. Russia later flooded Crimea with migrants and held on to it despite Ukraine's efforts at sabotage, including by restricting water. During the invasion, Obama, now 63, slapped sanctions against Russia and took steps to help beef up Ukraine's military. However, he stopped short of funneling lethal military weaponry to the beleaguered country, something former President Donald Trump would later do. So, Obama was less of a help to Ukraine than Trump. Surprise, surprise! However, he stopped short of funneling. I thought Trump was Putin's best friend. I thought he was his best friend. During that invasion, Obama, now 63, slapped sanctions against Russia and took steps to help beef up Ukraine's military. Right. Between 2014 and Russia's February 2022 invasion, tensions exploded between the two neighboring countries, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Obama had tried to ease relations with Russia, infamously working toward a reset with Moscow. The 44th president particularly sought to capitalize on Putin's brief absence in presidency between 2008 and 2012. In 2012, the Democrat had a hot mic moment with then Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, in which he assured his counterpart that he had more flexibility on the topic of missile defense after that year's election. I can pull that up for you here.
Washington today. In South Central politics, not after a live microphone picked up a comment that he made to the Russian president. Senior White House correspondent Bill Plant is traveling with the president in Seoul tonight. Bill?
Scott, major problems between the U.S. and Russia.
Give us the hot mic.
All of the issues can be solved, the president told Medvedev, but he stressed that it was particularly important for incoming Russian President Vladimir Putin to give him space on the missile defense system, which the U.S. and NATO want to install in Europe.
This is my last election for you. Yeah, and after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah, and I transmit this.
So I'll transmit this information to Vladimir, incoming president Vladimir. After this election, I have a lot more flexibility. And what does he do with that flexibility? He basically let Russia march on into the Crimea. Everyone talks about how Trump is such a disaster. He let him march into the Crimea. What's fascinating, though, about this story, unbelievable. After that, I'll have more. And frankly, I'll tell you something. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by this. I think this probably happens a lot more often than we expect.
Sure.
This is my last election for you. Yeah, and after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah, and I transmit this information to Vladimir and let's stand with him.
Republican president.
There you go. There you go. So you also had, as the story continues, later that year, Obama downplayed the threat Russia posed to the U.S. during a debate against then Republican president nominee Mitt Romney. The 1980s are now calling to ask for that foreign policy back because Cold War's been over for 20 years. That's when he said, you know, my opponent here, he says that Russia is the greatest geopolitical threat in the world. The 1980s are now calling to ask for the foreign policy back because the Cold War's been over for 20 years. At one point, after leaving the vice presidency in 2017, Biden boasted about pushing Ukrainian officials to fire Kiev prosecutor Shokin. Okay, whatever. But it's a fascinating thing to me that he's admitting that Obama effed up, that he messed up. He completely fouled up the situation with Russia, and that's why Vladimir was emboldened. And when I was first reading this, I didn't get all the way through to see that they referenced the hot mic moment. The first thing I thought of was like, yeah, he promised in 2012 that he'll have more flexibility. More flexibility. Of course, Democrats, masters of confession through projection, talk about how Trump is a threat to Ukraine. It's an amazing thing. But I do think it's remarkable that Biden, this is two different stories, two unrelated stories in 2 days, where Biden seems to not have much concern with completely fouling up Kamala's campaign. Because while he's attacking Obama here, at the end of the day, Democrats are very readily identified with each other. And you know, it's the sins of the father tend to be recognized in the child. So whether that child is a literal progeny or Obama down through Biden to Kamala, it certainly doesn't look good for Democrats. It certainly doesn't make them look like a party that knows how to handle European foreign affairs, how to handle Russia. So yeah, this coming out now, I don't know when he was quoted as saying this. I don't know if this is a relatively new quote. I don't know. It's already in a book, so he probably said it a while ago. But this is two stories now. This is two stories in 2 days where Biden seems to be doing everything he can to make life difficult in October for Kamala's November chances. But what I really want to get to, and the focus I plan on really spending probably for the next hour or so, is I want to talk about the strategy that enables Donald Trump to dominate, not win, dominate in November. I'll get to that in just a moment. Let me get some of these chats here. The important question is, why is chopped liver so good with slices of sour dill pickle? Tiger sauce on gefilte fish is an abomination. Ukraine rules. These are important questions. These are true. In case you're wondering, Ukraine is horseradish, by the way. Hello from Hawaii. God bless you, Gerald Davis. Hello out there in Honolulu. Aloha. Do you think if we see a domestic tribunal occurring or finally bringing charges for deliberately, did you know Vice President's husband has a majority share of lithium source in an NC called Admiral? Trying to figure out exactly what you're asking me. So will we see a domestic tribunal occurring or finally bring charges for, I assume you mean for the last part here, for Doug Emhoff's majority share for lithium source? All right. You don't need to send another super chat, but if you're still here, Doug, if you can just better spell out what it is that you're asking, I'll try to. I figured NC is North Carolina. That part I got. Any of the rest of you have like a better handle on this? Because I'd like to answer his question. I think that if you're ever looking for justice to be brought through the courts, never hold your breath that it's going to happen. That's my default. My default is to answer a question like this. My default answer is no. No. I don't think we'll ever see justice for Biden's corruption. I don't think we'll ever see justice on most things that you and I would easily agree demand a call for justice. I think a very, very small percentage, if any of them, will actually see it. Certainly with respect to public officials. And the reasons for that are the levers of power with respect to the ability to prosecute are controlled by people who have their own vested interests that have nothing to do with actually obtaining justice. More often than not, almost exclusively, they're all dictated by political agenda. Now, that political agenda can sometimes be an individual political agenda. Like Letitia James has a political agenda. She wants to get her notoriety for getting Trump's scalp. Same for Alvin Bragg. And they figure this will help me personally, my political career, if I can get a conviction on Donald Trump. Getting a massive judgment against Donald Trump will help my career. If I get a big scalp, getting Ghislaine Maxwell is a big scalp. It's a good get for the DOJ. Jack Smith, aspirations of having greater influence and political power. So, and most prosecutors work that way. Most politicians who might call for a tribunal or something like that, that's going to be politically motivated as far as what's benefiting me individually or my party. So rarely do you see a neat alignment between what justice dictates should happen and political interests. Sometimes there's some sort of overlap. That does happen sometimes, but let's put it this way. We all saw what Hillary Clinton did. Was it even a thought for 10 seconds during Trump's administration that she would be prosecuted? No. That was political rhetoric that Trump threw out. That was a great line. But, he admitted that he had no intention of actually prosecuting her. No. That's part of what makes these prosecutions of Trump so unusual. It shows how desperate they were and terrified they were of him, and how foolish they were not recognizing that, if anything, that would only strengthen him. So my best answer for this is, is Doug Emhoff going to face any sort of retribution or some sort of policies that happen going to create some sort of call for retribution? Chances, I would say, are close to nil. So, and I wish the reality is Doug's majority shareholder in lithium mine in North Carolina, where rumor has it eminent domain is being used. Yeah, you're never going to hear about that. You'll never hear anything about that. I'd be shocked. Thank you for clarifying that, Shiloh. Yeah, I'd be shocked if you ever heard anything about that. I think Biden's saying F. I don't know how to pronounce that second to last word there. Kun? Kun? That's actually I don't even know how. There's no good way to pronounce that word. Trump must be the carrot because Kamala is every stick in the ugly tree. Nice. No, that's not how the phrase goes. That's not how the phrase goes. And to be fair, if you ask me, I think Kamala, I don't think it's fair to say that Kamala is a hideous person, physically hideous. Her soul is hideous. She's certainly not physically a hideous person. I wouldn't consider her attractive, but she's certainly, average, to be fair. Turn the page sounds like an advertisement for Bob Seger. Could be. Turn the page in the same book, change book. Let's turn the page, not cackling Harris. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Sorry, Joe. I think the globalists forced Joe to run because he was compromised. Look at his 2021 immigration EXOs. Dems are on a coup de grace mission. You can't force someone to. I don't buy it. Why would they specifically force him? Like, what is it about him that they wanted more than Hillary? Why? I can understand they might not want Bernie. Okay. But why would they want him more than Amy Klobuchar, who ran, or Pete Buttigieg, or any of the other dozens of knuckleheads that they had running back then? I understand he's old school uniparty. I get that. But still, there are plenty of others. Prospering woman. Obama administration versus Hillary and Nuland ran a regime change in Ukraine in 2014, prepare for the war with Russia. That's why Hillary is bitter. She was supposed to be a wartime president and a hero in 2016. Oh, that's right. Don't lock us out. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Shut down the chat except for subscriber members so you get likes up, Joe. That's what I learned from lead attorney. That's the example lead attorney said. Get the likes up. King Act, my worlds are colliding. Never tell your audience you're imagining them naked. I will not ever say that. That's never happened. A reminder to never take a single day for granted. Yeah, he's amazing. John Mearsheimer and Jeffrey Sachs, all in Podcast Summit 2024 on YouTube, gives you all the history you need on what took place in Ukraine. Thank you for sharing that. Weak leaders cause wars. Democrats are all weak. Unfortunately, so is the rhetoric coming from Tim Pool and Tucker Carlson. Are you saying where they're anti-war? They're anti-all war? Yeah, well. Hello, sir. WTF happening at Sean's weird. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I don't even know what you're referring. What are you referring to, DS here? Sean's what? Which Sean? All right. This is pretty funny. He writes a lot of letters. He writes a lot of letters. All right. Okay. Where was we? So I want to talk to you all about the strategy for Trump to win, which he seems to actually start employing. I want to share with you a moment. I want to share with you a 5-minute clip of him speaking, and ask you whether, I don't know if we'll go through the entire 5 minutes, but I want to watch with you Trump speaking here and get a feel for what you think of the tone.
So after the surrender of our energy independence, the Afghanistan horrible, most embarrassing moment in history, we lost 13 soldiers, great soldiers. We left billions and billions of dollars behind. We left Americans behind. You have Americans right now in Afghanistan, and they cannot be happy, right? Many are probably dead. The border invasion, right? The border invasion. How about the 13,099 illegal aliens convicted of murder? They're roaming free. That's okay. In other words, these are all things that are okay. These are all things that are okay. How about, to me, the worst of all, because it's not even imaginable, she's lost during her 3.5 years, 325,000 migrant children. They're gone. Nobody knows where they are. Many are dead. I would say most are dead. We don't know. We probably won't find out.
On this,
Many are.
I forgot to share this clip. On this, before we get to this, there's one clip I wanted to share with you here, and that was this clown. And by clown, I mean he's not actually funny like most clowns. Most actual clowns. Sorry if you're a clown fan, they're not funny. At least not intentionally so. This clown over here.
Think about the sheer number here. 540.
This was a month before the 2020 election.
5 kids. The sheer number here. 545 kids. That's not a child on a milk carton. That's the whole dairy aisle. And yet there are still people who haven't made up their minds. There are still people who are going to vote for him. Maybe we feel too guilty to understand the magnitude of that crime and our responsibility.
And tonight, lawmakers urging the Biden administration.
He's complaining about 500 children being lost during the Trump administration.
To provide explanations for the disappearance of 85,000 migrant children.
So it now approaches 100,000 children, according to public reports, 100,000 children lost by your department and the Biden administration, migrant children sold into labor trafficking and sex trafficking.
We've never had such a bad problem with child labor trafficking and child sex trafficking. And it is enabled by the Biden administration's policies.
Think about the sheer number here.
Now reports are the numbers are as high as 300,000. 300,000, as Trump referenced.
They're dead. Most are dead. Many are in.
But the reason we're watching this really is that I wanted to call out Colbert's hypocrisy that he's screaming in October 4 years ago in October about 500 kids being lost, and that alone is a reason not to vote for Trump. And deathly silent about at least 100, 200, 300,000 kids being trafficked under the current administration. Utter hypocrisy.
Sex slavery. Many are in slavery, but there are many dead. 325,000 young kids. Think of it. You could fill up Yankee Stadium many, many times. Think of that. Many, many times. 325,000. They're gone. Nobody, the parents want them back. Nobody even talks about it. The fake news doesn't talk about it. It's this, in terms of humanity, this is bigger than anything you can even imagine, right? This is the biggest thing. And she thinks it's okay because she said, no, I don't think I'd change anything. All of this stuff would have stopped. The worst inflation in the history of our country, costing everybody a minimum of $29,000 per family, price hikes that cost a typical family. Think of that. No, she wouldn't change. $29,000. People don't have that money. The inflation has really destroyed the middle class. The elderly and people on fixed incomes are decimated. Just think of it, our middle class. How about Ukraine? If I were president, there never would have been a war. You wouldn't even know what Ukraine is. There would have never been a war. Putin wouldn't have done it. Putin wouldn't have done it.
When do they start clapping? What are they clapping when he's saying, if I were president? That's the first time they're clapping. Why? Because he's describing in that moment there better life, a better world. What bothers me about this first 2 minutes, and honestly, I didn't even watch the rest of it, I don't want to see this tone from him. I don't like this tone from him. And he's perfectly primed to take the exact note that he needs to be taking. We all know the reason he has the support. When I say we all know, I'm saying it. The reason he has the support, which is how I know that we all know, that support has come because people recognize the amazing flaws that he artfully laid out in the first 2 minutes there. Everything he said there, spot on true. Everything he said there was completely accurate. But we're past that point now. We're past that point now. We're at a point now where Americans recognize that America is in trouble. Instead of fixating continually on the fact that America's in trouble, and having this implicit type of message of things will be better, he really will dominate, and he's perfectly primed, set up for this, and I'm going to show you how. He's perfectly primed for portraying America 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, as being healthy, vibrant, rejuvenated, not simply just MAGA, but actually great again, or healthy again, positive again, influential again, significant again. But he has to, I really want to see him. I'm desperate to see him, and I was hoping we'd see it in the debate, which frankly we didn't. He got sidetracked during the debate. But I was hoping to start seeing that message of positivity, that message of the future. The past, the recent past has been disastrous. The future is bright. The future will be amazing very soon, very soon. One of the most powerful comments I can ever remember hearing a politician say in my life, which I said a couple of times recently, but I'm going to say it again now because it fits so well. I'll never forget Ronald Reagan. He was running in 1980. America and the world was in a terrible recession for has been going on for ages under Jimmy Carter. Terrible recession. And the most powerful statement I think I might have ever heard a politician make, just off the cuff. Well, I think it probably was scripted, but he was great at making it sound off the cuff. Is he said, the definition of a recession is when your friend loses his job. The definition of a depression is when you lose your job. And the definition of a recovery is when Jimmy Carter loses his job. It was just a bomb. It was an atom bomb, which was just like, boom, this is it. Good times are ahead. Good times are ahead. Good times are coming. Obama, what was his whole message? Hope and change, hope and change, hope and change. He didn't even have a platform. He didn't have any clue how to actually make things better. He just sold hope and change, hope and change, hope and change. The entire Kamala campaign, to the degree it has any sort of messaging at all, is the other side is all about negativity. It's all about divisiveness. It's all about down, 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 down. And to a degree, they're right, because he's continually pointing out the flaws of this administration. He's done that powerfully. He's done that effectively. He's at the stage now where in the last month, he really needs to start pounding home how America is going to be awesome, how life here is going to be awesome, how we're going to return to be recognized as the military power that we are, not by exercising our military might, but that we are the most dominant factor in the world, economically, militarily, influentially, culturally, in every way imaginable. People are tapping into America first, and part of that is tapping into America exceptionalism. That doesn't mean that you say that America has no flaws. No, that means we can look at our flaws, identify them, eradicate them, and move forward. The flaw with American exceptionalism that we saw in the 80s is there was this assumption that everything is always good and doesn't need to be checked. Everything is assumed to be great. You can reach a much higher level of actual American exceptionalism by saying, yeah, we are going to, we do recognize that there's going to be corruption here and there. And we're going to expose it, embarrass it, dismantle it, destroy it, and move onward so we continue to grow as a nation. That's what America is going to be. That's how we're going to lead the world. That's how, and we're not going to be embarrassed to admit the flaws, because we are comprised of humans, and humans are flawed. That's okay. The question is not whether or not we have flaws. The question is whether we're willing to admit and recognize these flaws and conquer them, fix them, move past them, develop past them. That type of messaging is what I want to be hearing from Donald Trump. I don't want to be hearing about 300,000 missing kids. I want to hear about what steps he's going to take to help actually get them back to the degree that you can, to the degree that they're still alive. I don't want to hear about how America's economy inflation has skyrocketed. I want to hear how America is going to actually overcome this. How by the time his administration is over, young people will recognize that the future is bright, that they can actually own a home, that they can attain their own personal wealth. I want that type of messaging. That's what garners the applause from the crowd. And it's so easy. It's sitting in front of him, because there are so many ways that he is perfectly primed to actually genuinely make America a better place, a healthier place. I want to share with you a few of those things right here and now. We got this this dropped yesterday. Such a wonderful thing that plays into the populism of that is so heightened and is part of the current zeitgeist of the nation. Lauren Lee reporting, RFK Jr.'s new portal to Team Trump, Policies for the People, has blown up overnight. Thousands of users have signed up, submitted ideas, and are actively voting for each other's policies. The top proposals currently single-issue bills, followed closely by term limits proposal. Without even being elected yet, this administration is already giving the American people their voices back. This is how you reduce disenfranchisement and encourage civic participation again. Amen. I'll show you what this thing looks like here. Policies for the People, which I actually signed up to right before the show. You have to log in and give me your email, but you can actually pull up here different policies and see which ones are people are voting for. This was only open, I think, from what I understand, this portal was only open yesterday, so it's still relatively small on a national scale. We can talk about 1,800, under 2,000 votes being the most popular thing so far. Term limits for senators, but as far as this is the sort of thing that Americans can really get behind. The idea of, hey, you know what? We can be influential again. People are going to listen to us. The promise that this is going to be reviewed by someone who's very significant in the Trump administration is incredibly encouraging. That, hey, if there are enough people, if I come up with an idea, enough other people support it, it may not just die on the vine, but the ball might get picked up and carried, and things can get better. You have here a pornography brand or insurance for holistic approaches to medicine. You might be in favor of some of these, you might be against them, but this at least makes you feel empowered. This is the sort of thing here which makes people feel optimistic. It makes people feel hopeful that, you know what, maybe a positive change can actually be implemented here, as opposed to just being this blah, 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 talking about change, that there can be actual change. This is the sort of thing that Trump needs to be promoting. And I'll tell you, RFK Jr. is an amazing asset in this. He's an amazing asset, because the next thing I want to get to here is something which I never really talked about on this show yet, which is RFK's push for Make America Healthy Again. If you actually look into some of the issues that we have with our health today, it's kind of terrifying. Joe Rogan has been doing some coverage on this recently. Where was it? So there's an individual named Callie Means. We'll get this clip here. His campaign in 2016 was running on draining the swamp. Now people were frustrated with his inability to do that, and they felt the swamp, if anything, continued to fester. He brought in some other swamp creatures around him, but at least there's an ambition. At least it's on the agenda, as opposed to just being like, no, let's make sure. And just to call attention to that, here are a couple of clips of RFK addressing that very factor.
This is what most Americans innocently put into their bodies these days, and most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable country.
That's amazing when you look at this list here. Our health spending per capita is twice the second highest one, and our life expectancy is 4 years shorter than anyone else in the first world.
And it wasn't always that way until the early 1990s. Our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then suddenly, more and more Americans began suffering from chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country on earth. Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker. We've grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now in 2024...
And autism also. Autism has gone through the roof. I was showing statistics yesterday on Locals, which were basically saying how 20 years ago, autism was a 1 in 150 incidents. Now it's 1 in 33. It's like 5 times as frequent. And the first thought you have is, well, we've redefined autism. We better identify autism. No, we're using the exact same yardsticks today that we were using 25 years ago. I've spoken to different medical officials, medical experts about this. We use the exact same yardstick, and yet we have 5 times as much autism. It's hard to imagine that it's not in some way related to toxins in our environment, whether the environment is our air, our water, our food. That certainly can be hotly debated by minds which are far more scientifically geared than my own. But to think that we're not being infused with toxins at rates that far eclipse what our parents, grandparents grew up with is foolhardy. It's foolhardy because you need to recognizing that this cannot just be something that just, that's just the life changes, especially when we see it's not affecting other countries the same way it's affecting ours. So you sort of have to say, why would we be worse? Why would we be worse? Think about how massive the organic food industry is, how much money people put into their physical and mental health. I mean, how many billions, if not trillions of dollars are spent every year by Americans? It may not be trillions, but certainly many, many, many hundreds of billions of dollars that are invested into mental and physical health by Americans. And they're fighting in an environment which clearly is far more toxic than it was 50 years ago. So instead of trying to fight against that escalator, it's almost like you're running on a treadmill here, or trying to like overcome the toxins by finding ways of being healthy. as opposed to just being in an environment that's healthy.
We're finally waking up to this cataclysm, and we're asking ourselves, how in the world did this happen? A big part of it is our diet. Restaurants that serve contaminated food are fined or shut down. But when it's the government that approves the poisons in our food, a few people get very, very rich, and the toxins end up in every supermarket aisle. Let me show you what I mean. Doritos, Cheez-Its, Cap'n Crunch, gummy bears.
And here's the thing that's very inspirational. I've heard Vivek Ramaswamy talk about this. These are remedies that can be taken care of by the executive branch without the need for Congress to act at all. At all. There are ways to remedy this through the FDA, ways of remedying this through the way you operate the executive branch, that you don't need to go, like, let's hope I can convince Congress to go along with this. Good luck with that never happens. Then you can fight a year and a day. You know how I'll get them to do that? I'll have to bribe them by saying I'll give another $100 million to Ukraine or some other stupid pet peeve that they want to invest billions of dollars in. No, I don't want to have to deal with Congress. I want to make Congress as irrelevant as possible. I want a president who's able to make Congress as irrelevant as possible. And I also don't want it to be via executive order necessarily. It doesn't have to be via executive order. It's simply through executive management that we can actually start seeing America be a healthier thing. This can literally start happening on day one, that we move in this direction. That's the sort of messaging that I want to see. I want to hear from Trump, that our lives will literally start getting healthier. The day you want to know what's going to happen for me day one? Day one, your life will start becoming healthier. Your environment will start becoming healthier. Tell me that people on the left, people who are on the fence about Trump at all, are not going. That's not going to resonate with them. That's not going to resonate with them. The idea that we can have an environment which is healthier emotionally, psychologically, physically. I mean, this is something that your leftist liberals, the crazy leftists, this is everything to them. Tell me that would not resonate with them. Tell me that they wouldn't be like, wow, okay, that's something that's really significant. That's something I need to at least recognize as a potential. This is a potential improvement in my life, and this is not just like improvement of. No, this is something that can potentially improve me personally, and that's where people spend their votes on what's going to, and that's how they should be spending their votes. What's benefiting me personally? People vote with their personal interests. So, is there any message which you think, from the populists of the right and populists of the left, you think the populists of the left, what will resonate more than trying to say, hey, here are the steps we're going to take to make America a healthier place, starting on day one of Trump administration part 2?
Everyone knows that these are junk foods, so maybe you wouldn't be too surprised to see that the ingredients include a lot of poisons, including a harmful yellow dye called tetrazine, or yellow dye number 5. What you may not know is that this dye was originally made out of the sludge that's left over when you turn coal into coke for blast furnaces. It's called coal tar, and I've actually sued many big industries for legacy contamination of coal tar all around the country because it's so toxic and it's so harmful to the environment and human beings. A century ago, it was just an obnoxious industrial byproduct that everybody was trying to figure out ways to get rid of. One of the ways that they did that was by paving roads. But then a British chemist figured out that the coal tar could be used to derive fabric dye. And if fabric dye, why not food? Food manufacturers began using it to cover up the discoloration of low-quality foods that they wanted to pass off on unsuspecting customers. They didn't know back then that this yellow dye, tartrazine, causes tumors, asthma, developmental delays, neurological damage, ADD, ADHD, hormone disruption.
I'm just going to pause and point out, everyone today seems to think that they have ADD or ADHD. Everyone. I don't know if it's because of the food. I don't know if it's because our minds have been shrunk by 15-second commercials and a constant need for a new fix that's been going on in the video age over the last 30 years. But everyone. I mean, and when I was growing up, that wasn't the case. But now everyone thinks that they have ADD or ADHD. I've never known the difference between them.
Damage, anxiety, depression. intestinal injuries. Well, we know it now. We've known this for decades. That's why tartrazine is heavily restricted in other countries. In some countries, foods with tartrazine have a warning label that it may cause ADHD in children. Today, it's made from petroleum, not coal tar. Either way, it's crazy to add this to your kids' favorite foods. It doesn't even change the flavor. This yellow dye isn't just in junk food. It's in the foods that we consider healthy. It's in everyday kids' snacks like popcorn, mac and cheese, fruit snacks. It's in sports drinks like Gatorade and so-called vitamin water. It's even added to chicken broth, to corn, to pickles, to mustard, and to yogurt. And so, of course, our kids get sick. And we lovingly feed them chewable vitamins, which have, surprise, tartrazine. And so the cycle continues until the coughs and asthma kick in, at which point you go to pick up some cough syrup. And yeah, you guessed it, tartrazine. I've been picking on tartrazine today, but that's just one of at least 100 chemical poisons that our health agencies allow into our children's food. I can make a video just like this to talk about Red 40, BHA, BHD, potassium bromate, chemical after chemical, and on and on and on. If just one of them can cause all of these problems, imagine what they're doing in combination. That has never been studied. If we took all of these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety. Our kids would learn more easily. We'd lose weight. We'd have more energy. We'd have fewer tumors and longer lives. It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives that cause cancer, genetic damage, asthma, and many of the other self conditions, as tartrazine does. And you know what's interesting? All 8 of those crucial steps forward in our kids' health were taken under President Trump.
Oh! Oh! Surprise, surprise! Striking back at big companies. Who did that? Oh, all 8 of them under Donald Trump. Oh. Imagine if he made that his mission statement. We didn't even know he did that. Who knew he did that? Until I saw this, I had no idea that Trump did that. No, I had no idea. They're continually mocking him, his weight and stuff. It's like this guy is making Americans healthier.
The Democrats who claim to be all about healthcare have stood by watching other countries ban these poisons and make our kids sick, asthmatic, hyperactive, and depressed. They left them on every supermarket shelf in America. They even used your tax money to put them in your kids' school lunch. So their big food and their big ag donors probably gave them all that golden handshake and the big money hug. And their big pharma donors probably called them up and thanked them also, because now they're going to make billions selling Adderall, Prozac, and rescue inhalers. Enough is enough. President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children. Together, we're going to make America healthy again.
That is what I want to see. I want to see this sort of thing, that we are going to make America a better place again. You can't just use the word MAGA. You need to keep saying out loud, make America great again. That's why he won in 2016, because he kept saying, make America great again. Inspire, optimism, better future, better world, better life. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear about 325,000 missing kids. I don't want to hear about 13,000 criminals running around here. I want to hear about how they're going to be gone. That's what I want to hear about. That's what Americans want to hear about. That sort of inspirational message will destroy Kamala, decimate her. Because every time she promises, good things in the future, the obvious question that she has no way of answering is, why are you not doing it today? So you moored yourself to that ship. Why haven't you been doing it for the last 4 years? You're the one who's been the powers. You're the puppet master behind Joe Biden, according to you. So influential in everything that's happened, agreeing with everything that's happening here. Why didn't you do any of this? And that's what's going to start happening the day that this administration is put out to pasture. We want to never hear again about Joe Biden. Never want to hear again about Barack Obama or Kamala Harris. End their careers now. We've been dealing with them over the last 16 years. And this election, you want to turn the page? That's right. We do need to turn the page. We need to turn the page, and we're going to turn the page into something that's actually good and positive. Because in the last 16 years, we've only had 3 good ones. And they've all been the first 3 years of Trump's administration. So yeah, COVID set us back. Okay, fine. We're well past that now. Let's return to good times again. The choice is feast or famine. Come with me and feast. Feast and feast like freaking kings. That's the messaging that he's able to present, not simply with just words and rhetoric or some sort of clever slogans, with clear, laid out, this is how we're going to do it. These are issues that I'm actually going to address. Here's your opportunity to chime in with policies. Here's your opportunity to actually get on board with actually making America a healthy place again. You need to spell out how America is going to be great. That's how you dominate. Here's something else he threw out the other day that I didn't even know he was talking about. Frankly, I'm not even sure how this would work, to be clear. But this is something that he mentioned. This is something he mentioned on a podcast the other day about eliminating nuclear weapons.
We were close to a deal for getting rid of nuclear weapons. It would be so good.
For all countries or just Russia?
We were talking about Russia, ourselves, and China.
Oh, wow.
And we would then bring everyone else into it. And
so you all would get rid of your nuclear capabilities?
Denuclearize, yes. We were going to get rid
Totally
of nuclear because it's too powerful.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
You know, we were close to a deal.
Even conceptually, that's difficult for me to wrap my brain around, an idea of a nuclear-free world. Now, frankly, and I want to be clear about this, I don't know that such a thing is viable. I don't know that such a thing is viable because the fear, if you think about it for like 10 seconds, the fear is, A, how do you know your enemies are actually doing it and not behind closed doors? And, there's the lack of trust between the 3 countries he identified of China, Russia, and the United States. But even if we had some way to build that trust and actually believe it, which is hard, that alone is hard to imagine. What would you do about some smaller country, Korea, Iran, I don't know, some Guatemala, whatever it is, developing nuclear weapons that now they can basically bring you to your knees? The whole point when we had the arms race going on in the 80s was there was this balance of power that was purportedly being maintained between America and Russia. That, for every nuke you build, we'll have 2 of them. So unless you want to assure our mutual destruction, don't press that button. So if we were actually denuclearized, look, I understand we can have all the javelins and all other, high grade weaponry, which can pinpoint a house 4,000 miles away and watch it explode 10 seconds later. And these are all wonderful technologies, but they're not a nuclear weapon. So what would you do to a Kim? What would you do to Iran? What would you do to any of these leaders if, in fact, all 3 of these countries could get on board with each other, that they're genuinely denuclearizing themselves completely? So I don't know that we could ever get to such a world. It's hard for me to envision such a world. Short of messianic times, it's hard for me to imagine a denuclearized world. But the fact that he's even discussing it, the fact that he's even throwing it out there, the fact that it's, even the notion of dialing back some of our nuclear weapons. So it's not like you just have an unlimited arsenal of world-destroying weaponry. That alone is a significant thing that I think every one of us could be like, yeah, that sounds like a better world. Sounds a little bit like a better world. We can actually find a way to do it. So, yeah. Yeah. Dina, God bless you. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Old school Joe went shopping for ribeye, $30 a pound. I'm gonna have to eat the lab meats. No, don't eat the lab meat. I don't care how cheap it is. I don't care how cheap it is. You don't want it. Didn't you just watch RFK tell you how that stuff's gonna kill you? Don't eat the lab meat. Don't eat the lab meat. No, God, no. What is it? It's not actual meat. $30 a pound. Oh my God. And that's not even kosher. It's way more expensive when it's kosher. It's way more expensive. YouTube wouldn't let me super chat dummy tree. And we're saying, I don't know. That's what you're referring to? Wait, no, that wasn't you. YouTube wouldn't let you super chat. What? Confused. Bob Rogers gifting good Lawgic membership. God bless you. Whoever was gifted that, courtesy of Barb Rogers. Just telling express your gratitude for bringing her into the following, which, as was stated earlier, is not at all a cult. Typical. Kelly, thank you so much for the gratuity. That's very kind of you. While you're here, if you can all make sure you please like and subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Drop a comment down below. Drop a comment. But I don't see how the strategy I'm laying out here, which he's perfectly primed to do, by having RFK at his side there, who is now has, I think, a large part of his popularity is he tapped into both populism and a vision of how to make America a better place, a happier place, a healthier place. I don't see how that message would fail to have a significant impact of swinging 3-4 points over the next month. 3-4 points across the country, state by state. 3-4 points. We finally have a leader who is able to come in here and not just promise hope and change, but walk us through a vision of how that change would manifest and why we should be hopeful. Post a video in locals chat with why Trump will win. You did. You did. Speaking of locals, got a bunch of chats here. What is this? What am I looking at here? I don't know what I'm looking at. Chameleon. Okay. Thank you, thank you, Johnny Reb. Thank you so much. Amby says, you call the vice president when POTUS is or will be out of commission, not just dementia, but under anesthesia, etc. The vice president's constitutional job is preside over the Senate and draw breath. Yep. That's it. Breathe. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Preside over the Senate and breathe. So this is what he shared here. Oh, you shared the fans. You shared. That's funny. You shared that I already had that set up, fans. That's pretty funny. Yeah. The strategy for Trump to win with no new wars. And says lots of people that travel to Europe can eat foods they can't eat here in the U.S. There are many food additives that are banned in Europe that are common here in the U.S. I know 2 people who became expats and took up residence in Europe for their health. Healthcare tourism is a real thing. Yep. Yep. Yep, indeed. And over in Rumble, I don't know if I missed any chats. I don't think I did. But if I missed any rants, if I did, one of you yell at me, please. One of you yell at me. I've seen a lot of Trump flags in Canada, FFS. Oh, this is coming. I'm telling you now. Just a little bit of positivity. People appreciate constructive criticism. They do. But that alone will not get them to your side. You need to offer solutions. You need to offer hope. You need to give them inspiration. And he's great at it. His best speeches, Trump's best speeches, his 2020 State of the Union speech where he was talking about how well America was doing in January 2020. Oh my God. His speech at Mount Rushmore on July 4th. Inspirational speeches, and he has the capacity to be a master of them. We all understand America is currently terrible. You want to spend 3 minutes of your rally talking about how terrible it is? That's fine. The rest of the time, it should be just every interview I want to be hearing. Every interview, more important than the rallies, because the people coming to your rallies are already voting for you. 99 out of 100 people at your rally are already voting for you. But you can inspire them. You can bring them to their feet by talking about how much better America is going to be. And it also undercuts all the claims about how you're about negativity and hate and division. It's like, no, look, everything here sucks. It does. And we can list through all the different reasons, all the different problems, from the economy to the inflation to the interest rates to the border crisis and war, all these different problems we can talk about. And you can flesh that out in your 3 minutes at the beginning, and then spend the rest of the time talking about how America is on the cusp, that this is a great time to be America, because this is how we saw Obama do so effectively. Some of you may be too young to remember this, but in 2008, when he was running, he engaged in so many psychological things to help solidify, before he was president, a vision of him as president. Subtly, because he's always been the master of subtlety. The master of subtlety. For example, he took the presidential seal, the little eagle and the shield of USA and whatever, and he put on it like Democratic. And he just, instead of like President of the United States, to the presidential seal, and changed that to Democratic presidential candidate. So he's standing at that podium, and he already is looking like the president. I thought it was frustrating when I saw it. I was like, it's a powerful move. It seems like it should be illegal, but it's powerful. It's a powerful move. Trump is a natural leader, and he needs to talk as if like we are now at an amazing time in America, because we are about to be on the verge of such a dynamic shift from the depths of despair into great times. Talk about it almost as if it's a foregone conclusion. We're going to go out there and we're going to destroy. And people are going to turn up and they're going to vote. And they're going to vote, and there's going to be more people voting. And when they think that oh my God, we can't have any more people, there's going to be more people coming out there and voting. They're all going to be voting Trump. More people are voting Trump, and more people voting Trump, and more people voting Trump. And then we're going to have a massive celebration when we win this election. And then we're going to have a massive inauguration. But before I go to sleep on the day of that inauguration, here are some of the changes I'm going to start to effectuate so that we can set up that the next 4 years are going to be the most memorable, historically great 4 years in American history. Just spell it out. Like, we're going to win. You all need to come out and vote, and you will. You know you need to go out and vote. You know how badly we need this, and it's going to happen. And this is how that will manifest. And this is the outgrowth of that. Will it into existence. Talk about it as if this is practically a foregone conclusion, and all that needed is for each of us to do our job. You have one job. I've got a big job. There's a big mess that's left behind here. I'm ready to handle this job, and I will handle this job. Your one job is you vote. Get your spouse to vote. Get your kids to vote. Get your friends and family to vote. Get them to go out there and vote, so I can go out there and do my job of actually fixing this massive destructive mess that the Democrats have left here. But make it as if this is, and that's what's going to happen. Let me spell out for you how the next 3 months are going to play out. Spell it out as if so that people can actually see it in their mind's eye. You're all going to come out there, and we're going to see something historic. We're going to see 100 million votes. That's what we're going to see. Talk about it as if like this is going to be like not just a win. This is going to be a landslide. Last time I got 75 million. This time, let's shoot for 100 million. It was a great turnout last time. Let's shoot for 100 million this time. Because America all recognizes how bad the problem is, and America all recognizes that I'm going to fix it. So let's do it. Let's start the party now. But you talk about it as if it's a foregone conclusion. Talk with optimism and hope. There's nothing left for Kamala then. There's nothing. I mean, literally nothing for them to say. Turn the page. What is left? What is left? There's nothing. There's nothing. But all that's left, all we need for that to happen is we need Trump to be talking like that in every interview for the rest of the way. We need him talking like the leader he is. We've seen him do it. He has the capacity to do it. He hasn't been doing it for my taste. He has not been doing it enough over the last couple of months. This is the last leg, and this is all that's needed. And he's got people around him between RFK and Vivek and Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson and this coalition of people and Elon Musk, for crying out loud, this coalition of people who are all highly influential thought leaders from across a wide spectrum. And this is a time where America is actually going to grow and heal in ways that none of you even believed imaginable. And not for the corporations, not for everyone else, purely for you, America. That's how you do it. And hopefully we'll do it. That is true. We should stop promoting one. What? An exceptional America will be one of the respects all sovereign nations practices diplomacy, assists other countries becoming prosperous rather than sanction them into poverty and anger. I agree with you as far as the whole live and let live principle. Live and let live principle. And I think, by the way, investing in ourselves is another thing that's a significant thing. That doesn't mean being isolationist. But I'm very strongly on board with the concept of two countries can be friends the same way two individuals can be friends. And you extend yourself more for some friends than for others based on how they're willing to extend themselves for you. And that doesn't mean that, hey, because I'm your friend, I'm going to be supporting you. I'm going to hope for you. I'll work with you. But not that you're financially dependent on me. I mean, what friend of yours is financially dependent on you? If they are, it's a very short-term friendship. That friendship doesn't last long. I'm a very big believer in that. And yeah, if they're dealing with a particular calamity, a unique calamity that comes up, okay. But it's not that I need to buy my influence with you. But my influence with you is because I am your friend, and I will continue to be your friend, much as you're my friend. If we ever forget that we are one nation under God, and then we'll be one nation gone under. We'll be a nation gone under. It's true. Well, Reagan, this is the issue today. Yeah, well said, reform convict. I agree, Joe. I want to hear more positivity from Trump, how he'll fix it, not just the same stuff we've been hearing for 2 years. Yeah, we really, really need it. It's so important. It's so important. Hey, everyone, prayers needed. My husband is in the hospital or something. I'm so sorry for him forever. 2 ER visits and his PCP has not been able to figure out. His primary care physician has not been able to figure out. Please pray for him. I'm so sorry. I hope that it gets quickly diagnosed and that it turns out it's a relatively trivial matter. It's easily remedied. But it's a complete and quick recovery. He's like a boxer. He talks loud and says crazy thing, boxer, but in the corner he has a team to figure out how to knock the opponent out. But he's not delivering on it so far with enough positivity. There should have been way more positive. Part of the disappointment that we felt in the debate, you might not recognize what was bothering me about it, is that there was not enough positivity. It was too much defensiveness and not enough positivity. So yeah, he did okay, but it wasn't the knockout blow that we were all hoping for. Douglas Emhoff has the majority share of Amarillo. Now, Gerald, you're explaining it. I'll give you one of these again. Douglas Emhoff has the majority share of Amarillo worth $250 billion, and they score. But the VP approves the mineral rights after eminent domain is granted. She becomes the new Cheney leaving office. Wow. Yeah, that's kind of sick. That's kind of sick. When they make me U.S. District Attorney, I'll get on it. But I'm not expecting it to happen. I'm not expecting it to happen. Unfortunately, like I said, everything is political. Everything when it comes to prosecution is politically motivated on one level or another. Certainly when you're talking about prosecuting big name individuals. Big name politically, big name celebrity-wise. Whenever you're talking about going after someone who's significant, 98% of it is motivated by politics. So Alex was right. Return of the Frog's gay. I don't like it. Return of the Frog's gay. I don't like it. Yes. Now these zines, he was talking about atrazine, but there's actually a whole bunch of zines, and the names are easily confused with each other. Like if you're not regularly confusing one with the other, that means like you're in a very small minority of people who's able to keep track of this one versus that one. It's very hard for us to understand. It's much easier for us to identify with red dye 40 or yellow dye number 5 than atrazine or whatever. But he was talking about tarazine, I think. I think it's tarazine because it's coming from like the tar from coal. I think it's tarazine is what he was talking about. Atrazine is a different one. Yeah, I actually think I got that one right just now. Put another doll in the Alex was right jar. And that's true too. I did a whole 2 hours once on if you're looking for the video, you'll find a thumbnail that's you'll be able to easily pick out where there's a picture of a pink frog, like a big pink frog. And how where I was talking about how Alex was right about them turning the frogs gay. I don't remember what it was called, but it might be something you might be able to just search my channel for frogs gay and find it. The answer is that all these it's all of these logic. It's more or less quantities, exposure, never mind under and over reporting, social contagion / hysteria, and the issues surrounding testing. Yeah, you're probably right, Dark Luge. You're probably I mean, you're almost certainly it doesn't take a rocket scientist to recognize that, hey, they probably these different zines almost certainly work cumulatively with each other. It's not like your body is whatever effect one of them is having, another one has a similar effect in either greater or lesser degree. So they say it's destroying testosterone, which is what he was referencing over here with turning the frogs gay. It actually turns like testosterone into estrogen, which sounds like alchemy to me. that testosterone could turn into estrogen sounds like alchemy, but I guess I don't know enough about the composition of testosterone versus composition of estrogen. But I don't know. Maybe it's as simple as removing, one carbon or something like that. That testosterone turns to estrogen. I don't know enough about the chemical composition. I sucked at chemistry. It was my worst region. So, Kimmy Joe, I have a grandson that can't have red dye because it makes him really sick. This is what you're saying here is. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad that the rest of us. I mean, there are some people who have more natural sensitivity to it. My sister-in-law can't wear fake gold, whereas most people can. Real and organic is, in general, going to be better, even though, frankly, I think that the whole organic foods industry is kind of a joke. It's kind of a joke. And that's probably mostly 97% a scam. But that doesn't mean, well, I can say that's a scam. In fact, Penn and Teller used to have a TV show called BS, which was actually did some great documentary breakdowns of things that were complete garbage. And one of them they did on organic foods industry and what complete scam it was, and how they're not even like, in some ways, they're actually less healthy than regular food, while charging 40% more than regular cost than regular non-organic foods. But that doesn't mean, while I can say I don't really believe in the whole organic food industry, and I don't subscribe to that perspective, I can get on board with the notion of, maybe we shouldn't be chemicalizing everything we eat. Maybe you don't need to have polysorbate 80 in everything. I don't know. Until left claims autistic genocide by health. You're killing the autists with health food. Mutual assured destruction is a sound approach. This denuclearization tripe is naive at best. Anyone that understands power politics and parity should know that. Okay, I agree with you. I understand. It is a sound approach. And I agree with you. Like I said, there's a number of different problems. A, how would you know that you can trust the other side, that they're actually doing it and not working on nukes behind closed doors in in these massive undermined football fields that you would never know about? How the heck would you ever know? So that's A. And B, what would you do about some smaller country which has now basically going to try and claim dominance of the world because they have a nuclear arsenal of 10 nuclear weapons that no one else has and no one wants to mess with? So it does seem naive. I agree with you on that. Dummy Chew is substitute with ugly stick. Oh, gosh. Okay, now I got it. Right. Okay. I got it. If she fell out of, okay. She fell out of the stupid tree and hit every stick on the way. Is that what it is? Instead of ugly? Did I get it? Did we manage to massage this joke in here? If we dissect the joke, like fall out of the stupid tree and hit every branch on the way down. So it's usually done with ugly. You were doing dummy. Okay. What you are suggesting, envision the shining city on the hill that we all have, is exactly what his closing debate statement should have been. Yes. Yes. Even if he had finished with it. Yes. We have a city that is a palace. Yeah. Do your best freaking Al Pacino. City that is a palace. I'd play it right now, but I am positive YouTube will come crashing down. If you haven't seen it, let me see if I can give you a clip here. Give it a clip, because I know it's from a movie that's probably 30 years old. It's a 5-minute speech. I can't play this whole thing. City Hall, from the movie City Hall. I haven't seen this movie in decades. From what I remember, it was a pretty good movie. But it was like stuff like classic Al Pacino.
Summon up the courage to accomplish this seemingly insurmountable task of making a city livable. Just livable. There was a palace that was a city. It was a palace. It was a palace, and it can be a palace again. A palace in which there is no king or queen or dukes or earls or princes, but subjects, all subjects beholden to each other to make a better place to live.
There you go. That's it. Positivity. Racial strife? Yes. Positivity. That's all we need. That's all he needs. You pound that for the next month, and I'm telling you now, he will destroy her. And he has so many weapons in his arsenal to do it. So many different bases to explain as to why the city will be a palace again. Damn, I meant to stop white on white Crimea. I don't even know what you're talking about anymore, but that's pretty funny. Have you heard of the state board voting for multi-partisan assistance teams from blue states to help the hurricane voter in red districts votes? No, I've not heard about that. That sounds kind of cool. Joe Davis says VP doesn't care about the election. She's about to become a billionaire from the mineral rights. She's approved for this mining rights. Side note, Clintons have theirs in Haiti worth $1 trillion. Yeah. No, that's what politicians do when they ascend to the throne, is they build their nest eggs. I mean, they're golden parachutes that they set up in corrupt, really questionable, how can this possibly be legal type of ways with their foundations and their different investments. They build themselves nests that are just amazing and palatial and ridiculous. So that doesn't mean she doesn't want to win the election, though. The point is, even if she loses, she's still going to have a pretty healthy financial life for sure. Yes, I'm positive that's true. I'm simply saying, it doesn't mean she's not dying to win, and if only because she wants the power, the recognition, the fame, and and greater opportunity to build even more financial wealth. So, yeah, good point, Joe. Thank you. Doug Emhoff, woman abuser as per Megyn Kelly. Yes, there's a whole story. I saw that Robert Gouveia was covering that as well, as far as how he's basically purportedly pretty misogynistic. Purportedly, I don't know if this is true. I don't know. I saw reports about him hitting someone within the last decade or so. It's a decade to 12 years. Hitting a woman who he was involved in a relationship. I don't remember. It really might have been as recent as 2018. It might have been as far back as 2012. But it was so I remember seeing something about that. And he talks about Trump's toxic masculinity. There is nothing more toxic. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Let me make this clear. The phrase toxic masculinity is a paradox, because masculinity, it cannot be genuine masculinity, cannot be toxic. When someone comes across as being some tough bully, whatever, that he's, and he's playing into the manly type of bully type of thing, that's not masculinity. It's toxic, but it's not masculinity. It's insecurity. Insecurity is the exact opposite of masculinity. Masculinity implies confidence. So does femininity, by the way. But yeah, someone who's genuinely masculine doesn't need to hit a woman. That's why someone who's genuinely masculine doesn't need to undercut others. So all those behaviors that they refer to as toxic masculinity is toxic. It's just not masculinity. Now, a lot of people don't fully understand what genuine masculinity is. I understand that. But the problem with the phrase toxic masculinity is that it implies that there could be something toxic about genuine masculinity, which only makes people misunderstand what real masculinity is. And if you don't understand what real masculinity is, how can you aspire to be genuinely masculine? So all it does is it just basically makes something that's positive, like masculinity, and make it sound as if it's a negative. And that masculinity is, it's not only is it like saying there's such a thing as toxic masculinity, the implication that is commonly drawn is that masculinity itself is toxic. And all this goes hand in hand with efforts to turn the frogs gay and strip away masculinity, because masculinity is an individual benefit and it doesn't benefit the state. It's not apparent to the state how it benefits them in the long term, because masculinity makes individuals strong. But that's more for like a locals type of discussion. Mazal, sir, make America. Thank you. I don't know what that really means in this context. Did I miss anything over here? And I want to be 100% sure I didn't miss any rants. I'm a little nervous. I am starting to wind down, in case you're wondering. The winding is happening. The winding is happening. I've got my little down button, and it's winding. And I'm winding it. Winding it. We're starting to wind down. Just letting you know. So no one feels like, oh my God, what happened? The show ended. Yeah. But I covered all the topics I really wanted to cover here. So, with that being said, tomorrow I'm hoping to do a locals. That's at goodlogic.locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com. If you have topics you want me to cover in there, please let me know, and I'll see if I can do it. The one thing I wanted to share with you is I had a few people ask me about Tina Peters and why it is that I have not really discussed the sentence that she just got, 9 years, which I haven't discussed at all. The reason I haven't discussed it, and I actually started trying to look at that story, and it seems very complicated. And every time I read this story, I feel very confused by what exactly is happened in this story. And I think the chances are exceedingly high, especially given the actors who were involved, specifically Jenna Griswold. And this is, in case you're unfamiliar with Tina Peters, she was a county official in Mesa County, Colorado, who was recently convicted and sentenced to 9 years in prison for her involvement in purportedly, well, I guess now they would say it's been found as a matter of law, because she was found guilty, in engaging in fraudulent election activity. She's a very strong Trump supporter who believes that the 2020 election was stolen. Jenna Griswold, whose claim to fame is that she tried keeping Donald Trump off the ballot. Is she Attorney General? She's the Secretary of State there? I never remember. What's her? I don't want to get Jenna Griswold's name wrong. Or her title wrong. Jenna Griswold. Colorado Secretary of State. Yeah. So she went after her very hard. And I know Jenna Griswold is a bad actor, given her history. So the fact that she went after this woman very hard would certainly lead me to be suspicious of this conviction. The judge sentencing was very aggressive in his tone. He seems to be someone who really hates Trump and everything related to a Trump orbit. I'm not going to kid you. He seems like kind of douchey. Let me see if I get that clip of her being sentenced. I watched it early this morning. This is the clip here. We can watch his tone here. He just sounds like, wow, this judge sounds like such a D.
Thursday Night Football on Prime. It's on.
That's not what I wanted. I got an ad that popped up.
Facing the consequences from embracing the so-called big lie, former Mesa County clerk Tina Peters was sentenced to 9 years behind bars yesterday for a data breach.
I don't want this whole thing. There it is.
Lies and taking advantage, he says, of her privileged position.
Your reputation at this point is poor because of what you've done here and after. Your lies are well documented, and these convictions are serious. I'm convinced you would do it all over again if you could. You're as defiant as a defendant as this court has ever seen. You don't have those histories of drug and alcohol abuse. There's no lifetime of trauma, not even close.
I can't find some sort of leftist reason to give you a break here.
Close to the type of mitigating circumstances I would see from many folks who sit in that chair. No, to the contrary, Ms. Peters, you are a privileged person.
She's a woman.
You are as privileged as they come.
No judge who uses privilege the way he's using it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. These people being on the bench are just frightening. That's the talk of a tyrant. And I'm not saying he is a tyrant. I'm just saying this is the difference between the talk of a tyrant and being a tyrant. I'm simply saying that is how tyrants talk. Again, I'm not saying he is a tyrant. I'm saying it's something that makes me question.
There are many things in my mind that are crystal clear about this case. You are no hero. You abused your position, and you're a charlatan who used and is still using your prior position in office to peddle a snake oil that's been proven to be junk time and time again. In your world, it's all about you. You abdicated your position as a servant to the Constitution, and you chose you over all else. Yes, you are a charlatan, and you cannot help but lie as easy it is for you to breathe. You betrayed your oath for no one other than you.
Wow. All right, let's bring in Colorado.
Wow. Yes, and these two cucks have a conversation with each other, which is boring. But yeah, so I haven't weighed in on this story because I feel as if I don't know enough about the background. It's a very complicated story where she apparently gave access to someone in May of 2021. So we're talking 6 months after the election. Access. She's found guilty of turning off cameras and giving someone access who had unauthorized access to election machinery. So she turned off the cameras and then basically misidentified to her staff the name of someone who had clearance, knowing that it was not that person, and basically deceived her staff into granting entry to work on some of the machines or access to the machines. I believe her agenda was to try and verify that the machines were okay, but and that they're not been to basically do his own investigation into the hardware. And this is referring to Dominion voting systems hardware. So that she had granted access to someone, and she's now been sentenced to 9 years, which sounds excessive. It sounds excessive. I don't know. I feel as if I've given you pretty much everything I know about this story, and I don't like weighing in, particularly in legal matters, where as a lawyer, you're properly going to look to me as someone who's an expert and knowledgeable in it. So now I'm going to weigh in a situation where I feel as if I have a very skittish knowledge of the facts and no knowledge of the particular laws. So for me to weigh in on it, on something that seems like political corruption, and Jenna Griswold, who has a history of engaging in lawfare against political enemies, in seems like this is likely another scenario of that, but I don't know enough about Tina Peters herself that I want to just say, because there are some crazies out there who do things that are not cool and not okay. So I don't want to just give a pass to Tina Peters and endorse what she's done when I don't know everything she's done and that's why I sort of feel ill-equipped to weigh in on it. I'm not trying to duck away from the story. I'm not trying to hide away from the story. I'm just too ignorant about the story for me to weigh in confidently, and I don't like weighing in an area where I feel as if you're going to reasonably be relying on me as giving you a voice of authority. So I don't feel like I'm an authority here, and that's why I've avoided Tina Peters' story. Anyway, but if you're interested in checking out, I think you have enough background now to look into it further on your own. I don't know that I'm going to be spending much more time looking at it, other than my starting point is this is likely lawfare that's political persecution and an abusive process, but I don't know that's the case, and I don't want to cast my vote that way and then later on find out that she really was a very bad actor. So that's my show for tonight. I don't care if it's $30 a pound. Don't substitute with lab meat. You don't want to do it. You don't want to put these toxins into your body. What do you want your kids? You want to develop autism? You want to develop ADD? God forbid any of the other issues? No. And I'm not saying that's what lab meat causes. I don't know what it is. I don't know it doesn't cause that. So don't take my word for it. That's not science. That's just one man's fool opinion. But what's not foolish is saying don't eat the lab meat. Just don't. You don't know what it is. No one knows what it is. Don't eat it. And no matter how much ketchup they put on it, no matter how they spice it or whatever gravy, A1 sauce, whatever, I don't care. You can't put cheese doodles on it. Do not eat the bugs. Thank you all for joining me as always. Sean, it would be great for you to have about it. Okay? I'm not really sure what that means. But I thank you all for joining me. Make sure you check out goodlogic.locals.com, goodlogic.locals.com, because that's where you'll probably see me next tomorrow. Till then, have a good night, and as always, Godspeed.